Jennifer Rogers Etcheverry is the great-granddaughter of America's favorite son and Cherokee Nation citizen Will Rogers. She's a successful businesswoman and owner of an almond company. But just like Will, she doesn't take herself too seriously.
I'm probably the one in the family, I'm definitely voted, I can tell you this, by my family, is being the most talkative. And I'm not too shy, if you can tell. My name is Jennifer Rogers Etcheverry. I was born and raised in Bakersfield. And I'm also blessed to be a great-granddaughter of Will Rogers. Pretty much lived here my adult life. Bakersfield is located in the San Joaquin Valley, and San Joaquin Valley is truly the heart of agriculture for the United States. So I met my husband. He's a third-generation farmer here in Bakersfield from a family that I grew up knowing. And we have two children. My daughter is 25 and married and just gave us our first grandson. And my son is going to be a senior in college at Prescott, Arizona. Well, it's been a gradual process, stepping into the role that I play. My number one goal is to go out and educate people on who he was and what he did. I've had the honor of meeting a lot of people, from celebrities to just people that remember Will Rogers. There's still a very small generation that remember him, that were alive and tell about the day that he died and how their father pulled over the car on the side of the road. Everybody was pulled over and people were crying, and people have told me stories. You know, as a child, they were like, "What happened?" Will Rogers State Historic Park is the place where Will Rogers lived at the time of his death. I sit on a foundation that helps support that park, as long as a foundation in Oklahoma which supports the museum, the Will Rogers Memorial Museum in his birthplace. I get to travel to Oklahoma just about every other month. It just seems like every time I'm back there, I've learned something new or I've met somebody new, and it's always a different aspect of Will's life. My job as the family spokesperson and family member is to keep his legacy alive, because he was so important to America. And at the time of his death, he had made over 70 movies. He had written 6 books. He had a daily newspaper column that reached 40 million readers a day. That is unbelievable. And he gave a weekly radio address. He was the highest paid actor of his time back then. There's nobody that can even come close to the things that he did. And he did it all in 55 short years. I think I have a little bit of that humor in me from Will Rogers. I'd like to think that that's where it came from. And you have to have humor. You have to have fun. And that's what got Will Rogers so far in his life, poking fun at the President of the United States.
We must have some 80 or 90,000 people here tonight. That's the most people that ever paid to see a politician.
He would come out and just say it, but he could get away with it because he did it in such a way that it made them laugh, and they embraced him even more. I get asked a lot, how did I start my business? When we planted our almonds, the market was at an all-time high, which was just over $4 a pound. And if you know anything about the almond market, it takes about 5 years to start showing a profit. And so, of course, that year came for us to show a profit, and the market had taken a plunge to an all-time low.
Weather's a big factor, and the drought has caused problems because we don't have the moisture, the fog, and the chilling units that we need for a perfect almond crop.
California droughts been a big factor the last couple of years. Well, this Christmas, I was getting the same speech of how this year's going to be better, next year will be better. And I finally just put my hand down and said, you know, every year you say it's going to get better and it never does. What do I have to do? Go sell your nuts for you? And we joked about it. And my dad was there, and my brother's the one that came up with the name. I have to give him the credit. He said, oh, you could call it my husband's nuts. And we just kind of joked about it for a little while. And then a couple months later, my dad called, and he was living in Tennessee at the time, and he said, I was telling somebody jokingly about this story, my husband's nuts, and they want to trademark it, and I think maybe we should check into it. So we said, well, we'll trademark it. So we did, trademarked it, and that's just kind of how it was born.
I always say that with the embarrassment that goes along with it, you know, if she could make $1 million a year, I could put up with the embarrassment.
I'm blessed. I'm honored to be part of the Cherokee Nation, and I'm thrilled that every time they come to California, I try to attend some of their events, and that's a whole side of Will's life that that is probably the most important. If Will Rogers was alive today, he was most proud of his Cherokee heritage, and he wasn't shy to share that information. He was very proud to be Cherokee. And that's one thing I'm so blessed to be here today is to show that side of my heritage, because a lot of people don't know about it. So I was very, very honored to be here today.